good morning everyone. A very warm welcome to MSM UNBC E-Summit 2020 Live. Thank you for connecting with us today. You're here with MSM UNBC team and we will ensure that this session will certainly add value to your knowledge and experience to University of Northern British Columbia, for University of Northern British Columbia. We're very excited to launch our MBA program. This session will be taken by none other than our MBA Director, Cheryl Wallis, and Manager International Recruitment, Richard Fu. Before we start, we would like to take you through the basic features of Zoom webinar. This is a Zoom webinar and your mics and videos will be inactive during the session. If you have any technical questions, then please put up in the chat box. And if you have any questions related to UNBC, please put up in the Q&A section. I will not take much time, and now I'm handing over to Cheryl to take you through the UNBC presentation, UNBC MBA presentation.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for having me. I'm quite excited to be able to talk to you. As Dashida mentioned, I'm Cheryl Wallis. I am a graduate from our UNBC MBA program. I am the director of the MBA program and have been in my role for about 4 years. I'm also a certified professional accountant here in Canada, and I'm very happy to be able to present our program to you. Our UNBC MBA program, just to give you a little bit of history and understanding of our program, has been in Prince George for about since 2004, and in Vancouver since 2013. So we have 2 current locations for the program. We deliver out of Langara College in Vancouver as a partnership with Langara, and in Prince George at our main campus. We are working on other locations such as Grand Prairie, which is in Alberta, but that is not available just yet. So right now we have 2 flexible locations. As you may know, we are a small research-intensive university. We're a government-regulated university in British Columbia. If you know our, what our system looks like in the universities in Canada, we're a government-regulated university. We have expert instructors and unique instructors for most of our courses, which is really important because there are 16 courses, which I'll get into more as I get through the rest of the presentation. But what we are able to do is bring in expert instructors for each course for our program. All of our courses are full 3-credit courses with 36 hours of instruction face-to-face. Of course, right now during COVID, we are online, but our normal delivery for our program is face-to-face, which is a really important piece. It really gives that opportunity for networking. We also have many guest speakers from different industries in the program, throughout the program, and also as additional pieces to the program to add value to the program and for our alumni. We are a full-time program, so we do qualify for an international study permit. As mentioned, we're a small university, so small cohort size is really important to allow for personal contact, not only with myself, the program assistant, but also with faculty, peers, with the university itself. And that's a really important piece, particularly I find with international students. They want to be able to speak to, myself or the instructors. And it's something they're actually often not used to because the universities they've attended in the past are quite large and they don't get that opportunity to actually have that face-to-face conversation with those in the university. The typical demographics in our program In Prince George, our average age is 35 to 45 with 10 to 15 years of experience. If you're familiar with Prince George at all, we are more of a natural resource industry focused region in British Columbia. So many of our students come with that type of background. They come from healthcare, entrepreneurs, government. In Vancouver, we see a little bit different age range. We see a little bit younger age range, late 20s to late 30s. And then obviously with a little less experience, 5 to 10 years experience. Of course, Vancouver is a larger city compared to Prince George. We see more students coming from the background of government, finance, technology, not-for-profit. And this will come together a little bit more too when I talk about the admission requirements, because our students are required to have a certain amount of experience to come into the program. As mentioned, it is a full-time program which qualifies for an international study visa. It's 1 weekend a month of class time, and that's the face-to-face class time. So full day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Typical days are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I'll show you a typical schedule a little bit later on in the presentation. There is a 1-week session to start the program. And what I've done in the last few years is really to allow the students to get to know one another from both cohorts, Vancouver and Prince George. So I bring them to the Prince George campus in August to start the program. We do orientation. We have an opportunity to meet alumni. We've been very fortunate. We've had the mayor of Prince George present to our incoming class and welcome them. And that really gives the students that opportunity to not only know each other, but also to meet each other from each cohort and develop that bigger, stronger unit of support and networking. I tell students, to expect at least 20 to 30 hours per week of study time outside of classes. You may think that, oh, I only have to attend, or the students only have to attend once per month, but there is a significant amount of time that the students need to spend on reading and preparing for those weekends. When they come to those weekends, they're intensive. They need to be prepared. They need to have read the materials. They have group assignments that they have had to work on, and they also have individual assignments. So it's not just a break in between those 4 weeks. There is a significant amount of time. They do have the opportunity to interact with their classmates, myself, the instructors between that time, but they're not in a formal class during that time. Our students see promotions, and that's a really important piece. You take an MBA to see success in your career. 60% of our students get promoted either while they are in the program or within 2 years. One of the recent graduates or graduating classes in 2019, we had a social at the end of the semester. I asked the students to raise their hands if they had received a promotion or changed jobs while in the program. 60% of those actually raised their hands. And honestly, 3 students out of that particular class had actually changed jobs twice within the 2 years that they were in the program. International students also see success with this, and definitely that can be challenging because often when international professionals come to a different country, it's hard to find that work within your own industry. One of the international students, as an example, he received an internship at the end of the program and then went on to get a full-time position out of that internship with the Port of Vancouver. We ourselves don't necessarily have internships within the program, but we do help students connect and find opportunities, for internships and things like that in areas they might want to work in, and also connecting them with the alumni. The students get hands-on leadership skills development. You can apply your knowledge right away. I can speak to that as a past student, and I constantly hear that from our current students. You apply the knowledge right away. You know, the domestic students obviously are working full-time while taking this program. And they often talk about the fact that things that they just learned over the weekend, they were able to have a discussion about at work on Monday when they went back to work. Working with diverse team players. The program is a general business MBA. So the important thing about that is the fact that a lot of different industries come to our program. As I mentioned, you know, in the north, we see a little bit different demographic. In Vancouver, again, a different demographic. And, you know, the opportunity to have discussions with people that are in different industries is so important. The instructors, the professors provide concepts and theories, and to be able to go away and work in your groups and discuss one theory with an engineer, a healthcare worker, you know, somebody that's an entrepreneur, and they all have a different perception or way that they've applied that concept or theory, really allows you to really broaden your understanding and ability to apply that knowledge in education. There's a lot of presentations, writing, verbal skills that is required through the program. So increased communication is so important, whether you're an international or domestic student. The self-study and group work can be done when it's convenient. And that's a really important piece for our professionals coming into our program. It allows them time to figure out their own schedule, you know, whether it's around family, whether it's around work, whether it's around other things going on in their life. So the program is 16 courses in total. The first semester you take 4 courses. And then each semester thereafter, you do 3 courses per semester. We do have a project option, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the next part of the presentation. We have seen students go on to do their PhD after our program, which is really exciting for many students to be able to further their education, and whether they want to take that on and become a professor, or whatever they'd like to do with that PhD. In fact, one of the graduates of our program went on to do his PhD and is now teaching in our program. Okay, I'm gonna test your knowledge. So where does UNBC deliver its MBA programs?
So that's a poll section. So
Okay, it looks like we have quite a few people who are listening, which is really great. Thank you very much for sharing. And so 67% of you got it right. Prince George and Vancouver is the 2 places we currently deliver our program. Grand Prairie in Alberta is one that we are looking at for the future. Thanks, everybody. So I think this is a really important piece to understand why UNBC for your career. As I mentioned, it's a general business MBA. It will support growth within an organization, to develop your skills for succession planning and leadership growth. Uh, the critical thinking skills and the problem solving skills is so important. One of the courses that you do is a simulation, and the instructor that does it then does like a board presentation at the end. You're the CEO presenting to the board, and the class is your board, and they ask you questions on the spot. You have to answer those questions, and that's so important to be able to be on your, think on your feet, answer questions. As I mentioned, you do a lot of presentations, so you develop strong presentation skills, learning how to connect with different people from multiple different types of diverse backgrounds, whether it's from different countries, whether it's from different leadership levels, different industries. We also do a lot of professional development and networking after graduation. We have a very strong MBA alumni. They are very connected, are very connected with the program. I have them mentoring our current students. I have, they come often to visit the current students and support them, ask questions, and be available. And then it's just a network for after too, if you're wanting to start your own business, that kind of thing. The program is 21 months. You complete it in 5 consecutive semesters. So that's an important piece, is that the program runs continuously. So if you start the program in August, you finish it in April of approximately 2 years later. So it is consecutive. There are breaks in between the semesters of about 4 weeks, depending. But it is continual for the full 21 months. Just to give you a bit of a sense of some of our faculty. So this is obviously only 3 out of the 16 or more that we have teaching in our program. So Dr. Sungchul Choi is our chair of our School of Business. He teaches our marketing course in our MBA program, and his research is around behavioral pricing, channels of distribution, and so forth. Dr. Dale Christensen, he is one of our external faculty members teaching in our program. He also teaches in other parts of the university, and he has a PhD in project management. He's a consultant for project management around the world. He teaches around the world. He is also certified by the PMI, so the Project Management Institute. And PMP designation is internationally recognized. Once you take his course, if you meet the other qualifications of doing your PMP, you do have the ability to get your PMP and write the exam. Of course, there are other qualifications the students would need to meet. Vita Markunis, she is, and actually I have PhD candidate, but I believe she might be finished her PhD now. She's very well versed in internationally, globally recognized organizations. She's traveled extensively, and she teaches our international business course. And as I mentioned, these are just 3 of our faculty members in our MBA program. Just to give you a sense of what some of the students are saying, and these are true testimonials right from our MBA students. As you can see here, you know, they've created a closeness. I can honestly say that even from my own cohort, I still keep in contact with many of the people that I went to school with. And that's something that I hear all the time. They keep in contact with one another. It's lifelong friends. So how do you attain an MBA at UNBC? Well, we have a selection committee that reviews our applications. The requirements are a 4-year undergraduate degree. There's no specific discipline required. We do require a GPA of at least 3.0 on the last 60 credit hours. So just to go back around the no specific discipline required, so it doesn't have to be a business degree, as it is a general business degree. It complements so many backgrounds and professions. So we do get a lot of engineers in our program, and it really complements a lot of different professions. If we have students that that come from a degree that doesn't have a strong math background, or maybe they've been out of school for a long time, we may require a math course because there is a significant amount of math throughout the program. So it's just setting up the students for success. We do require a minimum of 3 years full-time work experience in a managerial or professional position. So to give you an idea of what we're looking for from that managerial or professional position, the experience really needs to include supervising staff, leading a team, some kind of decision-making skills that are part of that role. Honestly, though, most of the students coming to our program actually come with more than that 3 years experience. And the importance of that is the discussion that happens in class and within your group work. I've heard a couple of students that have come to our program with that bare minimum of 3 years work experience. And what they said to me was that they really felt they should have waited. Because being able to apply that knowledge and learning from those around you, although you learn from everybody, you don't get as much of an opportunity to provide input in those conversations because you just don't have the background. So additionally, along with an undergraduate degree, the 3 years experience, we do require 3 letters of reference, a statement of academic interest or letter of intent. And in both of those, we need you to speak to the students to speak to, why they are looking to take an MBA, why an MBA at UNBC, what has interested them. And we do not require a GMAT or GRE. The one other thing that I will mention too is I will often do a fairly informal interview with some students depending on their background, just to really give them a better understanding. Sometimes when I read the letters of intent, I see that, it doesn't seem like they quite understand our program. So I like to make sure I connect with students or applicants to make sure they fully understand the structure of our program, what it looks like. Sometimes they don't understand where Prince George is or what Prince George is like. They've maybe applied to come to Prince George for the program and don't realize that, we get a lot more snow and cold here. And of course, for our international students, we do require a demonstrated proficiency in English. If a student has done their GMAT though, we will accept that also as part of their application. So this slide just shows you the course offerings. The next slide, I'll show you the schedule of them. So I mentioned earlier that we do have 2 options for our program. So you can either take 16 courses as a fully course-based program, or 14 courses and do a project. The project allows the students to specialize the program to an industry and area that they would like. So if they choose to do the project, first of all, they don't have to make the decision until halfway through the program. So they don't need to select a supervisor before entering the program. We support all of that. We also support the students in really honing in their project scope to ensure that they're going to meet the needs of the project, but also to help them think about which courses they would like to drop. And that's totally optional in whichever direction they would like to go. So this slide shows you a sample of what our course structure looks like. Our program is block taught, which means that these courses are typically taught in the same semester every year. So in the first semester, because we have 4 courses, that's another reason why we need to start in August, because we need a little bit more time than the normal semester to teach all 4 courses. As I mentioned, it's a full 3-credit course, 36 hours of instruction for all of our courses. So to be able to deliver 4 courses, 36 hours of instruction, we need a little bit more time. And that's why we start in August for the first semester. From there, it's 3 courses each semester. And each semester builds on each other. So the first set of courses, the first 4 courses are your basis to really start growing and understanding your knowledge in business. And then, like I said, building upon that. One of the key pieces here that I'd like to mention is the fact that we're continually reviewing our curriculum in our MBA program. We've just recently made a change. And if you've ever reviewed our website before, you may have noticed that we actually have a couple of new courses and a couple of courses that are no longer there. So we've added business analytics this year, and the incoming students this year, it'll be the first time taking business analytics. And leadership is another course that we've added recently and consolidated our 2 finance courses. Leadership is a course that we've heard time and time again that students want more of. Although we teach leadership throughout the program in all of the courses to some varying level, this is specific leadership curriculum. So I think that's a really important piece. We also have a course called Canada's Asia Pacific Gateway, which is unique to our program. And some of the things that we do in that course specifically is speaking to some of the economic challenges and logistics with the Canada's Asia Pacific Gateway. The students are also given some pieces during that course to support them if they are choosing to do a project. So around research methodology, how to use the statistical databases in our library, that kind of thing. So our next poll, let's see who's listening this time. What courses can students drop if they decide to do an MBA project?
Yeah, it's a poll question. So poll is popping.
Okay, I'll give you a couple more seconds and then I'll end the polling. It looks like everybody's got their answers in, so thank you very much. So we've got a kind of a tie between any 2 courses at any time, only 2 courses in their last semester. What it actually is, and I'm just going to actually go back, I'll share the results here. And what I'm just going to do is go back to this this slide here, sorry, and then this slide here. So the project option, the students will have to choose 5 of the 700 level courses if they're going to do the project. So they do that within their second year, and they can only drop 2 of the 700 level courses. So our 600 level courses are required courses, and the 700 level courses are the ones that they can use as part of their option with the project. So the project itself is worth 6 credits, and they do that within the last year of their program. So this just gives you a sample schedule of what the first semester looks like. I think I shared the one from last year. The Vancouver students come to the Vancouver cohort comes to Prince George with Prince George in attendance for that first week. Again, this year is different due to COVID. We're not doing that face-to-face week-long session, and let's all hope that we're back to normal for next year. I have to admit, it's one of my favorite parts of my job. When those students all come together, seeing their excitement, nervousness, anxiousness, being able to talk to them, let them know they're going to make it through. So as you can see here, they do a significant amount of coursework in that first week, and then they go into their weekend structure starting in September. So each of the months, they have a weekend. And typically the weekends are 4 weeks apart, unless there's any long weekends, things like that, instructor availability that affects the scheduling. Typically they are 4 weeks apart. And Prince George and Vancouver are on separate weekends. So one of the things that I'd also like to mention is the fact that although we have 16 separate courses, most of our courses are taught by the same instructors in both locations. So that, that really solidifies the standardization of the education in both locations. If we do happen to have different instructors in either location for the same course, we ensure that they're collaborating and having discussion and teaching the coursework the same. Obviously, they'll have their different styles of teaching, but we ensure that we have a standardized education between the 2 locations. Students that we see coming to our program come from all over the world. I'm so thrilled to see the diversity of the students that come to our program. Right now, we're at about 15% international students. And currently, the students that I have coming into the program for 2020, I do have students from India, China, Russia, Colombia, Nigeria, and I know I have one that's a bit different this year that I hadn't seen before. Russia was one of them. Previously, I've had students graduate. I just had a student graduate that was from Mexico, a couple from India, and also Turkey. It's a great opportunity for everybody to learn and understand business from all over the world. So many organizations are becoming more global, and understanding culture, across the globe is so important, and being able to be face-to-face with somebody from a country that you may have to do business in is very helpful. So the question probably that you're all waiting to ask or wanting to know, our tuition. So international students, this is a per semester fee. So $8,160 tuition plus our $435 MBA program fee. Of course, this is in Canadian dollars. And that's per semester. We have 5 semesters in our program. And, you know, the students will pay this fee at the beginning of each semester. So as an example, the first semester is just a little bit different because there's a deposit required. Then they pay this fee at the beginning of January, May, September, and then January in their final semester. So additional fees that are required for students, you know, as normal student fees, a couple just to point out that will be in Prince George only are the intramural and recreation fee and the U-Pass. Unfortunately, we currently only have the U-Pass in Prince George. We don't have a partnership with TransLink in Vancouver to offer that to our Vancouver students. And it would be significantly more too in Vancouver because of course Prince George is much smaller. The health and dental fee is for the September semester only. And then once the students qualify, the international students qualify for our British Columbia Medical Services Plan, then that is optional. They can continue on with it, but are not required after the first semester. Textbooks and course materials. Now that might seem like a broad range, $200 to $500 per semester. The reason why I give that broad range is a few things. Some courses don't require textbooks. There's so many different ways to purchase textbooks now. Online textbooks, renting textbooks, finding used ones, and then of course, purchasing them brand new. And then sometimes there's just course materials to purchase, such as case studies, which are quite inexpensive, maybe $2 to $5 each, or registering for a simulation, which can be around $50 to $100. So not all courses have textbooks. So that's why there's such a broad range there per semester. So for international students, an approximate grand total with all the fees and course materials is approximately $48,000 Canadian. Of course, that's not including living expenses. So talked about the demographics a little bit. MBA is a very competitive market. In doing my marketing research and keeping up on top of things for the MBA program at UNBC, price ranges anywhere from, 20,000 range to well over $150,000. As mentioned, I'll just go back here. For our international students, you're looking at about $48,000 with all of your course fees and course materials. Our program is 21 months, which is right in the middle of some of the other programs. You see some programs that are 12 months, some that are 28 months. So we're right in the middle there at 21 months. I talked a little bit about the demographics, but just to touch on that again, our average age in Prince George tends to be about 35 to 45, 10 to 20 years experience. We're a resource sector region, so we see a lot more engineering, forestry, things like that. In Vancouver, we see a little bit younger age range, and we're looking at late 20s to late 30s. Of course, finance, tech industry, government is a little bit more prominent in our Vancouver cohort. we see about 38% female students in our program. So just to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. Some of the employers that our students have worked for, are working for, you know, a huge cross-section of different industries and regions that the students work for. One of the stories that I like to tell about some of the successes of our MBA students. I had a student who graduated in 2019. Just before she graduated, actually, she received interviews for 3 jobs that she applied for. And when she came to convocation in Prince George, because she lives in Vancouver, she was so excited to tell me that she got an offer from all 3 jobs. So she had her pick of jobs, and she got her dream job, and she's still in that job today. You know, the successes that I see coming out of our program are just incredible. We have, you know, quite high up professionals working at RBC, Scotiabank, Canfor, Northern Health in our northern region here. So our next poll. Let's see who is paying attention. How many months is the MBA program at UNBC? Okay, I'll just leave it on a couple more seconds. I think everybody's got their answers in. Thank you very much. And it looks like everybody was paying attention, or most people were. 73% said 21 months, which is correct. Thank you very much, everybody, for playing along there. So next steps. We are completed taking applications, international applications for our 2020 intake. So currently our online application is available to have students applicants, start inputting their information. That cutoff is December 15th, 2020. So just to kind of give you an idea of what happens from the point of completing applications and that deadline. Students will then, or applicants will then have their applications reviewed by our registrar's admission office. And then early January, the applications come up to the program for our review. So the admissions office calculates GPA and so forth, and then sends it up to the program. From there, I go through them, determine the competitiveness of the application. If a student is sort of, you know, just on that cusp of meeting our requirements, our selection committee will also review those. I may request a student to do a Skype or an online interview just to have a conversation with them. Maybe flush out some of the information that I feel like maybe missing a little bit from their application, that kind of thing. The other thing that I do that, you know, really is helpful for a lot of our incoming students, especially from an international country, is to talk to our alumni and current students. If I see a student is unsure, say, about where they would like to take the program, Prince George or Vancouver, I may connect them with a current or past student to help them decide, because obviously Prince George and Vancouver are quite different in, quality of life, different living situation, that kind of thing. So I'll connect applicants with sort of a like-minded kind of current student or alumni. So, as an example, I didn't have kids when I took the program. So I can't speak to that experience. So I'll connect students or applicants to somebody who has kids that's gone through the program, and what kind of challenges and issues did they come across, and how did they resolve them? For our international students, I'll try and connect them with an international student taking it in the same location. And if they prefer, try and connect them with somebody from their country, if that's what they would like, or if they'd like a different perspective, then I try and find that for them too. So I want to thank you very much for your time and ask for any questions. I'm just going to bring on my next slide, which just has a little bit of summary of some key points, just so you can have a review of them and hopefully answer some of the questions you may have that are straightforward. And I'll just note that these are per semester fees times the 5 semesters.
Okay, Cheryl, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. So here are a few questions that are being asked by our partner agents, and I would like to ask those questions live because yes, it's MBA and it's the first time for us as well. So yeah, the first question goes like, it's actually for BTech students. The students, those who have done engineering, those who have done their graduation in engineering. So in India, we have BTech for 4 years. So the first category of having a 4 years undergraduate degree, that actually clears. But then what if the student does not have any managerial experience rather than have, some kind of engineering experience? So will that student be offered MBA program?
We definitely do have students that maybe not necessarily supervise their own staff, but come with that technical experience. So as an example, engineers, this often happens with engineers coming to our program, that they have that technical hands-on experience in their area of expertise with engineering, that they have some level of project management and decision-making skills, but maybe not necessarily managing a department or staff, that kind of thing. And yes, we definitely will consider those students.
Okay, thank you. Next question is that due to the current COVID situation, will we be offering any conditional acceptance to the students?
I think it, oh, well, it's hard to say because, we're talking about applications for 2021. So it's really too hard, I think, to say at this time what that will look like for next year. Honestly, my hopes are that we're back to face, and that everything is, I'm going to say, normal, with caution, in that it'll be back to, the student's ability or the applicant's ability to easily, get their medical requirements for their study visa and their transcripts and all that kind of thing. Of course, we'll have to reassess that for next year should there be any situation with COVID.
Okay. The next very famous question that is coming along is the Duolingo. Like, are we accepting Duolingo for MBA?
So interestingly, I just found out our admissions department has been using it. Now, I don't know what the requirements are around that. I have to be very honest because I just heard of it for the first time, I think within the last week or so. So I can't give very much information. I don't know if Richard is still on the line, if he has any knowledge around that.
So for Duolingo, are accepting Duolingo at 105. So if the students does meet 105. Now, just bear in mind, Duolingo is only being accepted for the winter semester at this present time, and we don't know if that will be valid for the September intake of next year.
Yes.
Thanks, Richard. I think, if I can just add on that regard around the English language requirements, particularly with the MBA, that it's so critical for students to have a really good grasp of their conversational skills. I mean, the other pieces are very important too, but there's a lot of conversation, and for students to not be able to converse well in English and understand English, really makes it challenging for the students, not only just from the learning aspect, but also being able to have that opportunity to network and grow their skills in the conversations they have with their fellow students.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. The next question that is coming along is that in India, so Cheryl, in India, the BBA program, Bachelor's of Business Administration, is basically for 3 years, the undergraduate degree that we want. So will 3 years degree plus your 3 years of managerial experience be considered for UNBC MBA program?
Um, I will cautiously say yes. It's only in very exceptional circumstances that that student would have to have exceptionally more applied knowledge at a higher level and an experience level. So on the occasion that we have accepted a student at that level, we do go through a little more robust review process with our evaluation committee, the interview, and ensuring that the experience is there also.
Okay, so that means those students are accepted, but then they will be accepted in such a way where, we will be looking at some X factor, you can say, in those students, be it in terms of their communication skills or their decision making skills or leadership skills and so on and so forth.
Yeah, okay. Definitely they're going to be a much more competitive applicant if they have the 4-year degree.
Okay, yeah. So the priority will always go to the 4-year degree. However, we can accept 3 years degree, but then the quality should match the 4-year degree student as well. Okay. So as per the Indian grade, what is the requirement of percentage? So it's B average. So would you like to convert it for the Indian market for our partner agents?
The admissions office does all that, so I don't actually have an answer for that. I do apologize.
Yeah. So
I'm not sure if Richard has any input for that.
So the range we're looking for a B average is roughly about 60 to 70% average, around there. It's calculated based on the last 60 credits, so it's calculated very differently from a cumulative GPA standard. And I know for India it's out of 10 points, so we're looking about 7 at least, if it's counted based on 10 points. So it really depends. So that's why you need to email india.admission for the qualification on that.
Okay, thank you. Um, the next question is that what is the major difference between MBA course based and MBA project based?
Mhm. So I'm just going to go back to my slide here. Uh, oops, one more. So if they do course-based, then they do 16 courses in total, which is all of the courses listed here. If they choose to do the project, which they don't have to make the decision until halfway through the program, then they choose 5 of the 700 level courses, so they get to decide. And their project then is worth 2 courses or 6 credits. And they spend approximately 10 months working on a applied based project. So the project is not a thesis. It does have a level of secondary research in it. You do work with a supervisor. The intent of it, though, is to apply your knowledge for a real world problem. So the students that typically do a project are doing something maybe within their own organization to solve a problem, or we do have a lot of organizations that will work with us if a student doesn't have a project or organization that they want to work for or work with as part of their project. And there are opportunities with some organizations that want to work with MBA students. So it's an applied project. It's a minimum of 12,000 words. You do a presentation to a committee once you've completed it. You work with a supervisor, and you're applying your knowledge in a specific area. Just as an example, when I did the program, my project was I have my accounting designation. I wanted to broaden my depth and breadth of knowledge in organizational behavior. So that's where I focused my project on within the organization that I was working for at the time. I didn't have to do my own organization. I could have picked some other industry that I was interested in. So just to kind of give an idea of what that looks like.
Thank you. So yes, the next question is about Duolingo, so that we have already answered. Yeah. Is there any paid co-op option available for the students?
No, we currently do not have one through the school. Now, that being said, we do have a lot of contacts in different industries where we can potentially connect students. We do some events to support students in getting some networking, but currently we don't have a co-op option for the MBA. We're hoping to get there though.
Okay. And what is our application fees?
The application fee for international students is $153 Canadian.
Okay. So do you have any idea, Cheryl, that how much gap is accepted after the completion of, let's say, BBA in India? I know that 3 years of managerial experience is required, but do we consider any gap between the academics, the job, and then the student coming on to MBA, like any age restriction, any age limitation?
No, not necessarily. Now, if I see an applicant who's 22 that applies and says that they have 3 years of exceptionally high level managerial experience, I'll probably do an interview with that student just to sort of confirm and get a good understanding of their experience and ensure that they truly understand. You know, typically our students are, you know, not that young. I won't necessarily decline them because of their age, but I will ensure that I have, that they have the understanding of what's really expected of them.
Okay. So are the courses done either in Vancouver or Prince George? Like, which campus would you suggest for our upcoming students?
Good question. You know, obviously Vancouver tends to be a choice for international students because they're familiar with Vancouver, or they may know somebody who's lives there or they have been there themselves. Honestly, the international students that have come to Prince George choose Prince George because it is a smaller location. Um, and the fact that our main campus is there. So that is a particular difference that's really important. Our main campus is in Prince George, where all of our services are face-to-face. In Vancouver, we have a partnership with Langara College, but we really just utilize space there. We don't have any direct services there. So I go there on the weekends that the students are in class, so that I'm available for the students. They of course can access all of our services virtually. So if they need our international department, they're available by phone and email. Our library is electronic, so they can access those library services virtually. You know, doing payments, they can do those online, that kind of thing. But, you know, honestly, I think the students, to get the support that they're really, if they really want that direct hands-on support, they're best to come to Prince George. You know, there's limitations there in the fact that we're a very small community.
So the next question says that, will there be a pre-evaluation of application before paying the application fees? So I believe that our role, like MSM role, comes into the play whenever we get an application. So we will be getting an application, we will be doing the pre-assessment, and I believe that Cheryl will be supporting us in the pre-assessment as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do often get potential applicants emailing me, you know, their information. Unfortunately, I can't do a formal assessment until I receive all their official documents. So, I mean, if it's coming through, you know, an agent, obviously a reputable agent that that can verify that information ahead of time, that's a little different.
Oh, that's great. So I'm just rushing through the questions because it's already time for you guys also. I know it's quite late for you guys as well. So it's the same question. So one question that I see over here is that, is distance education degree accepted?
It depends. Our registrar's office has a listing of schools that they review and will accept as quality schools that you know, they have through their registrar's association. So I can't honestly answer that for sure. I mean, our registrar's office, our admissions office reviews the application before it comes to me. So if it doesn't meet the qualifications, their standards for obviously that a post-secondary institution, then they'll stop it at their point. I kind of don't have any say in that.
Okay. So I believe that this particular intake, like August 2021 intake, will be face to face. I mean, nothing online is planned, right?
Right. Our program definitely is normally face-to-face. At this time, we are online till the end of this year. And of course, we all just have to wait and see. You know, my hope is back to face-to-face in January for our current students, and of course, keeping face-to-face for our future students, because that's what I enjoy, is that opportunity to talk to students face to face, along with our instructors too. So, but we can't predict for sure.
Okay. Thank you. So we have answered most of the question, like the students, those who are from the engineering background, Duolingo, the age gap, admission requirements, online, offline intake. So I believe that most of the questions have been answered. So Cheryl, would you like to conclude this presentation with some notes for our partner agents?
Mm-hmm. Just thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you all. I've really appreciated this opportunity, and you know, if you have questions that come up that I haven't answered here in the presentation, and you want to pass them along to me, I am quite happy to accept those questions through directly to myself or through Richard. You have our contact information. Um, and I look forward to working with you.
Richard?
No, thank you for a wonderful presentation, and thank you our agents that have been working hard to promoting UMBC. And this new program is because you guys have been asking for a graduate program from UMBC, so we brought you one of our top tier and premier program, our MBA program. So we hope that you guys can continue supporting us, and thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on this presentation.
Thank you, Richard and Cheryl. So I hope that
Okay.
you enjoyed our MBA webinar of UNBC. I know that there are many questions which are still unanswered. So what we will do is that if you've missed anything, don't worry, we will send you a detailed information on your emails. We do have the account of all the questions, all the email IDs. So don't worry, it's our responsibility to clear all your questions, and keep on sending us applications on india.admissions@unbc.ca. Till then, take care and stay safe.
Good night for me.
Bye.